ultimately, I believe that suffering leads to salvation. And in fact, it's the only way.
The only thing I would add to this, Jim, is that you're so close, but brother, it's so much better. It's so much better than even that.
Ruslan.
A video recently resurfaced of Jim Carrey, the actor Jim Carrey, making some interesting statements about Jesus and suffering and the gospel, and still weaving in some things that are, I don't know, a bit questionable, okay? So we're going to be looking at this clip, and I'll give you guys my thoughts. I've seen this all over social media, and I wanted to kind of unpack this because sometimes these things can get murky. Is he talking about the Jesus of the Bible? Is he talking about a different kind of Jesus? What does this all mean? Can we extract the value from it? Can we eat the chicken, spit out the bone?
Ultimately, I believe that suffering leads to salvation. And in fact, it's the only way.
So he said, I believe that suffering leads to salvation.
That we have to somehow accept and not deny, but feel our suffering and feel our losses. And then we make one of two decisions. We either decide to go through the gate of resentment, which leads to vengeance, which leads to self-harm, which leads to harm to others, or we go through the gate of forgiveness.
It's very fascinating to hear someone that you would think is at the top of the world talk about suffering and loss in this context. Now, Jim Carrey's also had a brilliant quote of saying, I wish everybody could know what it's like to be rich and famous for one day so they can realize that it's not everything it's cracked up to be. That's also a very interesting quote from him. So I always find this kind of fascinating that this is the stuff that you hear from people that are highly successful that go, it's not what you think. Having money is nice, but it's not what you think. So he's talking about loss and suffering and how that becomes the pathway to salvation. Now, is he talking about salvation for forgiveness of sins? I don't know. Let's keep listening.
This leads to grace. And your being here is an indication that you've made that decision already. You've made the decision to walk through the gate of forgiveness to grace, just as Christ did on the cross. He suffered terribly, and he was broken by it to the point of doubt and a feeling of absolute abandonment, which all of you felt.
This is interesting. He references to Jesus suffering on the cross. Okay, keep going, Jim.
And then there was a decision to be made. And the decision was to look upon the people who were causing that suffering, or the situation that was causing that suffering, with compassion and with forgiveness.
So he's referencing when Jesus says, forgive them for they know not what they do, right?
And that's what opens the gates of heaven for all of us. So I wish that for all of you. I wish that for myself. I know that, no matter what I've suffered, most of you have suffered worse than that.
Yep.
But that's why I admire you, because you're here, and you will have grace, because this decision has been made. So I'm so glad to be with you and to be a part of this. Thank you, Father Greg. Thank you, John.
Hey, you want to see something crazy? 67% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed. Do me a quick favor, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date on all the videos here on the Blessed God Studios channel. That is him with Father Greg. I believe that's some sort of art installation. This clip is from a couple years ago. Now, the important part to note here is Father Greg does some amazing work with Homeboys Industries, and I mean, really doing great work to help ex-convicts get off the street. Well, not just get off the street, helping ex-convicts, gang members to turn their life around and learn a skill and change the trajectory of things, right? I love that. And so I think he absolutely nails it on the idea of resentment, on the need to forgive, and how if you don't, you're causing harm to yourself, how through suffering we find salvation. The only thing I would add to this, Jim, is that you're so close, but brother, it's so much better. It's so much better than even that. It's so much better than even that. That yes, the cross helps us make sense of our suffering and the letdowns in life. Absolutely. Right? Because that's the greatest injustice that we've ever seen happen in the history of the world. But it's better than that. It's not only that at the cross and the suffering at the cross wasn't just done as a moral example for us to look at and glean and say, wow, look at Jesus, so humble. What a great teacher, laid down his life. Wow. He prayed for the people that are crucifying him. That it's even better than that. That the cross symbolizes God's way of restoring people back into a right standing with him and wiping out their sins. And that is the good news of Jesus, that he lives the life we couldn't live. He died the death we should have died on the place, in our place on the cross, and creates a pathway for us to be reconciled, put in right standing, to be redeemed or bought back from the powers of sin and be placed in a right standing and be born again if we were to believe with our heart and confess with our mouth that God rose from the grave. That is the good news, and it's so much better than just a moral example. Even though it is a moral example, even though everything you said here was spot on, but it's even better than that. The good news is even better than that aspect. And I love that he pulled up, and I don't know where Jim Carrey is on his journey, and I'm praying that he arrives at the true and authentic Jesus, and not just a Jesus that society has recreated in their own image of a kind Jesus that never talks or rebukes sin, but a Jesus that's full of grace and truth. I've been seeing that all over his film a couple years ago. And again, I love what Father Greg is doing and Homeboy Industries. I think it's incredible work. And I'm glad that Jim was able to go and speak there and share his heart in that way. And I'm excited for him. I'm praying that he continues and hopefully presses into Jesus more. So he's really close, man. He's really close. And I don't know what any of that means. Okay, if I'm honest with you guys, I don't know what any of that means. Again, if the studio looks a little different today, it's because this is our last stream in this studio. We got the U-Haul coming tomorrow. Zach is going to be pulling up at around 7:38, and we're going to be loading up the rest of the equipment here. Everything is striked. There's boxes all around me. So God willing, we can get all the cameras up and get going. Yeah, so it's our last stream today. I do not feel sentimental. I thought I would, but I don't. I'm so ready to get out of this place. We're going to have a separate space that's not shared as a common area where there's a kitchen that people walk through, and I'm very excited. You spend time in a place and you're like, oh man, is this going to be different when I finally move on? And you're like, nope, I'm just ready to move on. I got a whole desk of stuff I got to strike tomorrow. There's boxes everywhere. I'm so ready. I'm so ready to be out. So again, pray the move go smoothly. Hopefully we'll be getting something set up by Monday evening and be streaming, okay? And so I'm super excited. The space is going to be bigger. You're not going to see these ugly black curtains behind me anymore. It's going to be dope, man. So I'm ecstatic, and I cannot wait for you guys to see the new studio. It's pretty much done. The only thing they got to add is the baseboard so we can run the cables and make them a bit more discreet. This studio has just yucky cables everywhere. Cable management's terrible. We just kind of kept adding on to it. So this new studio is going to be way cleaner, all that kind of stuff. Hey, this clip is from our daily after party stream. If you enjoyed it, consider signing up for our Patreon community for only $5 a month, where you get access to the replays of our daily after party streams, as well as the uncut extended versions of our podcast, Discord access that's private, and a discount code for our merch store, only $5 a month. And ultimately, it's the best way to help us contextualize the gospel of Jesus using media, podcasting, and of course, YouTube. The link for that is in the description or in the pinned comment. The perks are amazing. You should get on there. It's only $5 a month. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.